Hello friends, and welcome back to Scaling Stories. Today, I've got some more highly upvoted posts from Best of Redditor updates for y'all. Like always, I'll be reading you the posts and giving you my opinions, and I'll also be working on building up my Minecraft world at the same time, so I hope you enjoy. Also, I'm currently only in Spotify's creator program, so watching on there would help me out a ton. Thank you so much for your support. Today's first story comes from the Relationships subreddit. It was posted by possibleotherwoman on February 25th, 2016, and was titled, My 25 female, longtime best friend, 25 male, keeps messaging me from his honeymoon. I don't know how to end the friendship. This is a throwaway because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get a lot of hateful messages, and I want to protect my actual Reddit identity. Will and I have been friends since pretty much forever. We literally grew up together. Our mothers are best friends, and we were raised by each other's families in this sort of semi-commune type situation. His mom is like a second mom to me, and mine is the same to him. We've both always said that we lucked out to have two sets of parents and this huge extended family because of it. I see him as a brother, exactly as a brother. I feel the same way about him as I do my bio brothers. I never had any romantic feelings for him, and it's honestly disgusting when people make jokes about that to me. I always thought it was the same for him, because that's what he told me several times over the years. We all went to the same local university and lived at home. And by all, I mean me, my siblings, Will, and his siblings, to save some money and because, honestly, it's a great school. So, because we stayed so close, we all met everyone's significant others and really got to know them. I clicked with Will's college girlfriend, Sarah, who he proposed to last year and married last week. I couldn't be happier for them. And to have Sarah as a sister in our weird little family, which is what makes this next part even worse, because I'm not sure how to handle this. Will messaged me on their wedding night and told me that he had always loved me and had hoped that I'd feel the same way too, and he only got married to Sarah as a way to make me realize my feelings for him and fight for him. He had tried to provoke a reaction, and he didn't love her. He didn't want to be with her, and now he just wanted to tell me, because he'd leave her for me if I wanted. I didn't know what to say, so I just signed out of everything for the night and cried, because everything about that just made me feel sick, and it was too much. Just too much to process. It was like my brother was admitting incestuous feelings for me. He's messaged me throughout his honeymoon, almost all of them begging me to run away with him, and a few of them were blaming me for leading him on, which still makes zero sense to me. I've never flirted with him. I act the same way around him as I do any of my siblings. Literally nothing is different. He said that he'd always see me in his head as the other woman, and because of me, he'd never be able to fully love Sarah, who he admits is, on paper, his ideal spouse. I don't know what to do, because both of us stand to lose a lot, no matter how this all goes down. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my family because of this, and not just his side. Everyone is close, and if I'm identified as the problem, I'm afraid I'm going to be pushed out. But maybe that's what needs to happen. I really don't know. Reddit, how the F do I deal with this hugely effed up situation? I need some outside advice and don't have anyone in my life who doesn't know any of the people involved in this. Edit for more information. Sorry I didn't include this to begin with, but I'm not thinking 100% clearly right now. I still feel just terrible about everything. More info. Our families live in the same house, and our parents shared parenting duties for all children. When I called out for daddy in the middle of the night as a little girl, both dads came running, for example. Our families are so intertwined and always have been, and I feel like Will just handed me this huge bomb. I think there's going to be a massive fallout from this, and that breaks my heart. We're all very close and tightly knit. I keep cycling between sad, angry, and betrayed. I'm upset because I feel like he's tasking me with breaking Sarah's heart, and I hate him for that right now. I love Sarah, possibly more than he does at this point. Scaling Stories Corner. Yo, legitimately, what in the hell is wrong with Will? That is actually really crazy and unhinged. Like, that's some stuff he needed to take to the grave for sure. What does he mean when he got married to Sarah purely to make OP jealous? What about Sarah? You literally proposed to her and made her feel like the most special girl in the world just to make OP jealous? I'm thinking what have you been doing the entire time waking up next to her? Is this guy disgusted every single day that it's not OP? it's like mind-boggling. It's just not right. I think since OP has text messages to prove everything, I would first tell her siblings, because this is in no way OP's fault, and she shouldn't try to bear this alone. And she's not the one ruining the family unit. Will is the one who ruined it by sending those messages. And then after telling the siblings, I think I would slowly tell more and more of the family to get support. And maybe they can help isolate Will so he doesn't hurt himself when he finds out that everyone else knows. Because he's definitely not in the right state of mind. No one in the right state of mind would send all that stuff to OP. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. OP says to a commenter, I didn't feel the need to clarify where I was from in my original post, but I can see how assumptions about me being from a different place would surface, so sorry for not clarifying. I'm from the US and come from a family that has been in the US since right around the time that the US became a thing, so I strongly identify as American, which is why I felt comfortable posting in a place that is heavily populated by Americans. It didn't even cross my mind that our living arrangements would be a huge thing for some people because in the city I'm from, it is not unheard of to co-house with another family. It's not exactly normal, but it's on the level where someone who knows of someone who does this. What? Tongue twister. We just happen to be those people. In every other way, we're normal Americans, at least for our area. OP says to another commenter, I don't know the details of our parents' sex lives, but Will and I aren't biologically related at all. We just lived in the same house growing up, and we've always been super close. We're 3 days apart, and we were always treated as a pair, sort of like twins are treated in some ways. His parents had their own room/area of the house, as did mine, and I shared a room with his sister, while he shared a room with my brothers. Parenting was always done as a group. Both of our sets of parents really believed in the "it takes a village" thing, and they were all equally protective of us all. I feel bad now for the teenage boys who had to deal with 2 dads asking when they'd be bringing me home from our date. One dad is scary enough, lol. Commenter 1 says, you need to separate yourself from him and stop messaging him back for a while. Send him a very straightforward message about your 0 romantic feelings for him and how much he has hurt your relationship, and that you need him to leave you alone for a while. His poor wife. OP says, just a point of clarification. I've never replied to any of his messages that he sent from the wedding night on. I feel terrible for Sarah too. She doesn't deserve this. Commenter 2 says, you need to send him one message, one that says, in no uncertain terms, how disgusted you are by him doing this and that there's no way in hell any of his feelings will ever be reciprocated, and that you cannot believe he would do something like this to Sarah, and that he should no longer contact you at all. And OP, this is very much not your fault. You've done nothing to bring this on. Nothing. OP says, thank you for saying that. Some of his messages really got to me because he recounted things that had happened in our lives, but from a totally different perspective. And I thought that maybe he was right, and I had unwittingly done something terribly wrong, and found myself blaming myself for all of this happening, as well as wondering what else in my life I've been wrong about. This thread has helped me get some clarity, so thanks to everyone. Really. Commenter 3 says, are you positive this isn't something his wife is doing without him knowing? To attempt to catch you with feelings for him? OP says, honestly, I don't know. I don't think Sarah would do this, but I also had never thought that Will would do this either. I mean, Sarah knows our family, and she knows that we grew up together in the same house. To me, that would be like someone trying to catch their spouse's adopted sibling with feelings for them, which is just insane to me. This is insane no matter how you cut it though. Gah, I don't know. Commenter 4 says, didn't you say in your other comments that he brought up things in the past but described them from his perspective? Are those incidents that Sarah was present for or heard of? If not, then maybe Sarah didn't fake them. Personally, I think this theory is a bit of a stretch. OP says, I mean, they were all things that could have come out when talking about silly things that happened in your childhood. But yes, this theory is very tin-foily, and I don't think it's Sarah. Update 2 months later. Holy crap, has it been a stressful month. The original plan was to wait 2 weeks from the time I posted to deal with it with Sarah and Will, but I ended up spilling the beans to my mom around 3 days after the post went up. She noticed that I wasn't my usual self and pried it out of me like moms tend to be able to do. She was flabbergasted and honestly didn't believe me until I showed her the messages on my phone. She called my dad and Will's parents into an emergency family meeting, and we all talked about it. I broke down crying and told them everything that I told you guys, and to my surprise, they rallied around me in support. We all ended up crying and had a really long talk about our combined family and what this could mean for all of us. It was agreed that something, somewhere, went wrong, because while the sibling flag was raised in my mind, when it comes to Will, it wasn't with him. I didn't get into this in my original post, but Will and I were the youngest. We were born just a matter of days apart, and he and I are closer than we are to any of our siblings, because we always did everything together. He's my best friend, but more importantly, in my mind and heart, he's my brother. I expressed all of that to them, and they agreed that my feelings were what they were going for when they opted for a shared family, and we all felt like this was incest. That night, we started researching local therapists who deal with situations like this, and the next day, we chose one for me to go to because honestly, it was traumatic, and I had a lot of feelings that I just didn't know how to cope with. I'm still in therapy, and it's going pretty well. I'm dealing with a lot of crap and starting to feel better. We decided to keep this between the parents and me until Will and Sarah got back from their honeymoon. The night they got back, we had a huge family dinner, with her family there too. None of us, parents and me, were excited about it, but we couldn't cancel because it had been set in stone as the only time it would work for everyone for a longish period of time. I spent that night trying to keep my distance from Will, because honestly, I couldn't handle being around him. He thought this was odd and ended up cornering me outside in the garden. He asked me what was up, why I was acting so weirdly. I told him that he knows why and tried to walk away. He grabbed my arm and tried to pull me back toward him, but I resisted. I ended up breaking down and telling him that I would never and could never feel the way about him that he felt about me. I saw his look of genuine confusion, and my heart and stomach sank. He had no idea what I was talking about. Those of you who guessed that it was Sarah all along were actually correct. His phone went missing during their trip, and he hadn't cared because he was excited to be on his destination honeymoon. I told him everything. He threw up into the koi pond, and we hugged for what felt like forever. I broke down crying again because my knee-jerk reaction had been to cut him out of my life, and through sobs, I was able to get that out. He comforted me and told me that he understood because almost anyone whose friend and brother decided to hit on them would probably feel similarly. He said that he'd never hold my hurt reaction against me. We've been friends and family for way too long. We just sat there for a while because neither of us knew what to do. But come on, this situation was effed. Eventually, our moms came out and flipped out when they saw us together and, like amazing moms, sprung to my defense. We got them to calm down and explained everything, that it had been Sarah, and Will's mom lost her cool. She went into the house and ended up apparently tearing Sarah a new one. I don't know all of what was said because I remained outside with Will, trying to calm down from everything. Fast forwarding a bit, Will decided to divorce Sarah. It came out that she'd always been jealous when it came to me and absolutely hated me. Her goal had been to either get me to admit feelings for Will so that he'd cut me out, or to get me to cut him out. It also came out that she had never been faithful to Will and had regularly cheated on him throughout their relationship. So honestly, he dodged a bullet, albeit a bit too late. Will's moved back in, and we're both looking at finding a place together, as roommates, and he's gone into therapy as well to deal with everything on his end. So, in the end, my world didn't collapse, and my bond with my friend and quasi-brother only deepened, but he ended up heartbroken. I'm so angry at Sarah for putting us all through that when really, she should have and could have expressed her feelings to me, and we could have probably addressed things. But then again, she was still a cheater. Just, ugh. I don't even know what to think. So, I guess it's a happy update? Scaling Stories Corner. Nah, dude, no, that's not right. What did this post just do to me? Literally, never in a million years did I ever think it was Sarah sending those messages. But also, I've been reading Reddit stories for years. How did I not know that was a possibility? I don't know, but that was actually freaking crazy of Sarah. I mean, I understand why she might have felt the way she did because OP and Will's family literally grew up side by side. But like that level of insecurity, just yikes. There's better ways to tackle it, most likely with a professional therapist or someone, but definitely not sending Delulu text messages to OP, where you're for sure going to get exposed. Like, what were you thinking? That OP wasn't going to tell anyone and just silently cut Will out of her life? Will would have eventually gone to OP and asked her what was up, and she would have just spilled the beans. I mean, that's literally what happened. So yeah, not the best plan she could have come up with, that's for sure. And to Will, I'm really sorry. You know what they say, guilty until proven innocent. My bad. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, he will probably qualify for an annulment instead of having to divorce. OP says, nope, he looked into it, but it's not an option for him in our state since he didn't enter into the marriage by force or fraud, and no party involved was unable to consent to marriage. Sarah has agreed to not contest as long as he pays for her filing fee. So, all in all, the divorce is only costing him around $600 when all is said and done. I'm chipping in to help too. Thankfully, he had a prenuptial agreement, and it clearly lays out who gets what, so she isn't taking anything that she didn't come into the relationship with, which is awesome. I'm proud of him for protecting himself. He had bought a house a couple of years ago, but doesn't want to move into it, so he's renting it out for the time being. Anyway, the divorce is as good for him as a divorce can possibly be, and he's made jokes about having a really good divorce story now. Lol. Okay, friends, so that concludes our first story of the day. Next up, we have a story from the relationships subreddit. It was posted by sowtfrightnow on May 7th, 2017, and was titled, I, 27 female, just found out that my teammate, 24 male, plagiarized parts of our group thesis paper for graduation. I'm furious. What to do? We are enrolled in a master's program, and we are about to graduate this month. The four of us have been working on a thesis-type project for the past year, and our final paper, which was completed as a group, is due tomorrow. I volunteered to edit the final paper to make sure there weren't any grammatical errors and that it flows well between sections. I got to the first section that this person wrote, and while reading, I thought, huh? This language sounds really technical and, frankly, more intellectual than what I usually hear out of his mouth. I saw that he included a footnote, so I went to the PDF cited in the footnote, and I saw the problem. He had copied sentences and phrases from the source, word for word, without using quotation marks. I'm going through the entire 70-page paper, looking at each of his sections, and so far, I've found at least 5 instances of him doing this. I also found a case where he did not include a source for a sentence he took straight out of an organization's website. It is taking me a long time to do this, and I expect I may have to pull an all-nighter to check each of his sentences, in addition to all the other copy editing I have to do. I called and texted him. No answer. Then I remembered that he was on vacation and probably on a long-haul flight right now. Again, we are in a master's program, in corporate communications, at a good school. It blows my mind that he thought this was okay to do. If this had been caught by the professor, we could have all been failed and not been able to graduate. What do I do? I'm so pissed right now. Should I write to the professor after the paper is submitted and demand that he be penalized for this? Should I let it go since we're all about to graduate anyway and won't see each other again? I'm so mad that I can't think straight right now. Scaling Stories Corner. Geez, I am so glad not to be in school anymore because I hate group projects with a passion. Okay, wait, maybe like not with a passion, but I definitely don't like working in groups because I'm always thinking about like, am I doing my part enough? Or like, is anyone else doing their part enough? It's like too much brain power wasted worrying about other people and like depending on others. So like usually I'd like to tend to get stuff done on my own and like work on my own. Yeah. So anyway, if I'm OP, I would definitely be a snitch and report this to the professor. And I mean, I'm saying I'm gonna snitch and that makes it sound like I'm doing something wrong, but it's not wrong to tell on your teammate here. Like, her OP's teammate had a job and a role they needed to complete, and they completely fumbled it by plagiarizing. And they're old enough to know that plagiarism is an absolute no-no in school. And I'm pretty sure schools will definitely stop you from graduating if you plagiarize something on an important thing like your finals paper in your master's program. And there's no shot I'm gonna let some random drag me down. So yeah, snitch. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the original post. Commenter 1 says, I opened an account just to reply to you. I'm a professor. Believe me when I tell you that there is zero chance that your thesis will not be run through plagiarism software. You have got to amend it before submission. Your professor might give you an extension, but you will need to explain to her/him what has happened. Also, notify your group mates ASAP. Please believe me when I say that this is extremely serious, and if you submit the paper as is, you risk disciplinary action, which would likely result in not being given your award and possibly expulsion. Expulsion from third level in my country means never being accepted into another institute of education. Commenter 2 says, this is why I hate group projects. There's always a problem child, and they are always on your team. Ugh. Definitely email right away and get in front of this mess. Update 3 days later. Hey, my sincere thanks to everyone who replied to my original post with suggestions. I read every comment, though I didn't have the time to respond individually. Here's the update. About an hour after I posted on this sub asking for advice, I did the following 3 things. 1. Sent an email to the entire group, basically saying, hey, this is what I've found. I don't want to accuse anyone of intentional plagiarism, but the school is certainly going to interpret it as such. I need everyone to double-check their sections and confirm to me that they either have no issues with their citations or that they are working to fix their citations. 2. Reached out to the professor, requesting an urgent phone call. 3. Spent the entire night looking through the entire paper. And guess what I found? Yep, another person in our group did the same thing with her section. It was actually even worse than what guy number 1 did because she would copy/paste information from the same source for 3 or 4 sentences in a row, and then she would only add the footnote at the end of the very last sentence in the paragraph. The next morning, Monday, 2 things happened. 1. Only one person in the group, the 4th person, replied to my email. He confirmed that he did not have any issues with citation in his parts and volunteered to help me look through the entire paper and check citations against original sources. 2. Our advisor and I had a phone conversation. She was surprisingly accommodating about the whole thing. She said that since I was voluntarily bringing it to her attention before the paper was due, she would be willing to give us some leeway. She gave us a 12-hour extension for submitting the paper, and she promised that after she runs the paper through a plagiarism detection software, if she does spot anything that is suspect of plagiarism, she would discuss it with her team first before taking anything to the academic board or whatever it's called. Guy number 4 and I spent all of Monday going through the paper again and pulling every single source that every single person had cited, looking at the exact page numbers in the PDFs and making sure that citations were done correctly. It was an absolutely exhausting, draining, miserable process. Guy number 1 and girl number 2 were probably dead or something during this entire time because we didn't hear a peep from them. We submitted the paper by the extended deadline, and I think we're good to go, even though I wish guy number 1 and girl number 2 had been penalized in some way because I worked so effing hard to cover their asses. A couple of thoughts. 1. Don't believe anyone who says group projects are a taste of the real world. They are not. I've been working professionally for the last 6 years, and I can tell you, I have never worked with a single person, even government employees, who has been as incompetent, lazy, and just a plain dim-witted F-nut as the people I've encountered in grad school. 2. We messed up long before this by not finishing our paper sooner. Honestly, for me, I was the only person in the group with a full-time job outside of this full-time master's program, so I've been extremely busy, but I know it's not a good enough excuse for procrastinating. I guess I just never imagined that grad students would need someone to educate them about what constitutes plagiarism. 3. Yes, pulling something directly from a source without using quotation marks, even if you have a footnote, is plagiarism. Our advisor confirmed. 4. Don't do group projects. Period. I had the option to do a solo thesis, and I chose to go the capstone group project route because our program heavily discouraged the solo thesis option. Look where it got me. Thanks, everyone. Lesson learned. Never talking to these efforts again. ScalingStories Corner. So, not to sound uneducated, but I kind of had like a different idea about the plagiarism from the original post. So I'm guessing that guy 1 and guy 2 did like some actual work in this project and they didn't just copy and paste everything and call it a day, but they were slacking in properly citing things, which if done properly would have made those sections not plagiarizing. I'm not sure. Like, I have literally no idea about like the grad school work. If that's the case, like, I mean, no matter what, it's still pretty freaking bad because OP communicated this to them and they both didn't reply and left it all up to OP and the other guy to fix. That is pretty messed up. I wish it just would have been possible to submit the project as is and then have the members graded based on what parts they submitted. That would have been much more fair to OP and the other dude, because from what I can see, guy 1 and girl 2 got away scot-free and just learned that even if they don't put in as much work or do something correctly, someone else is going to bail them out and it's okay. And that's definitely not okay. Now here are some of the top/relevant comments from the update post. Commenter 1 says, I've been working professionally for 30 years now. You can count on the fact that you will run into people like your teammates again. They will prove themselves to be incompetent, lazy, and just a plain dim-witted F-nut. I'm a programmer. On a group project, we had a teammate edit his unit test document to make it look like his program worked when it didn't. He was fired. We had to do overtime to fix the error. No deadline extensions, no overtime pay. That's just a job. Commenter 2 says, honestly, if your groupmates weren't willing to correct their citations and avoid plagiarism after you sent them a very explicit email about the matter, you should totally report them. Especially the first guy. This isn't some small-time group project. This is your effing thesis paper. Why the ever-loving F would you ever think that's possibly a good time to cheat? These children don't deserve to be in a master's program, let alone graduate from it. These are the kinds of situations that make academia feel like an effing joke sometimes. OP says, I gave my advisor the names of the 2 problem makers and described why they were problematic, but she didn't seem to care that much, at least based on how she sounded over the phone. Her attitude was more like, oh, okay, I understand you have a problem. Why don't I give you a little more time to work on the paper and get back to me when you have your crap together? So, I'm not sure how much support I'd get if I tried to run this up the flagpole. Okay friends, so that concludes today's video. Leave a like and comment down below to let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.